Hello Internet, it's gloopglop here, and I'm going to talk about some historical figures that I find intriguing and awesome, possibly more important. Let's get started. So, I will call up the power of Wikipedia and tell you a little about some of my favorite historical figures. Yeah, if you're not interested in history and you're not a super huge nerd like me, I wouldn't continue watching this video because I'm just going to be ranting about historical characters. I'm sorry. Number 1, Napoleon Bonaparte, bitches. I know, I'm so gangster. Napoleon. So, Napoleon was a French guy, obviously, as we all know. He had a lot of pictures where his hand was inside his jacket. He's known as being short. So here's some interesting facts about Napoleon. Number 1, he wasn't actually short. No, I'm not actually kidding about this. Napoleon was a pretty ordinary height dude. But he hung out with a bunch of tall guys, and he had the nickname, I think it was the Little General. So people and plus, people back then were a lot shorter. So we think of him as being a puny little midget, even though he wasn't. Some other interesting things about Napoleon. So it's still illegal in France to name a pig Napoleon, which is kind of sad because Napoleon just seems like a really good name for a pig, you know? Number 2, Alexander the Great. So Alexander the Great was a pretty cool dude. He captured some cities and wasn't afraid of anything. Oh, I'm sorry for the internet. I mean, that was uncalled for. But anyway, either way, Alexander was pretty awesome. He was the son of the king of Persia. I can't remember his name right now. But he captured a lot of stuff. Also they think little Alexander the Great, they think he was gay. They don't actually know, but that's just, there's some speculation on that topic. So yeah. And even more interesting, I think, he couldn't grow a beard. Yeah, I think that's more interesting. Because, all the other kings and stuff, they all had beards, but no, Alex went clean shaven because he couldn't grow a beard. I think that's pretty funny. Number 3, Socrates. Socrates, my friends, is on my list because we don't know anything about him, and yet we still consider him one of the greatest Western philosophers. Because, actually, we don't really know anything about Socrates. It was Plato, who was Socrates' student, that we basically know everything we know about Socrates we know from Plato. So basically, Plato could have been making it up and we wouldn't even know. Yeah. But thankfully, Plato wasn't a liar, but I'm not talking about Plato, I'm talking about Socrates. Socrates, well, basically what we know him for is the Socratic method, the Socratic problem, Socratic paradox, all that. Now, he was a character in a play called The Clouds. Can anybody guess who it was by? Aristophanes! Yay! So The Clouds is a comedy, and it had Socrates in it. It was fun. So look it up. I don't have time to talk about it right now, but it's pretty cool. Just like Socrates. Number 4, Al Capone. Yes, Al Capone. So everybody knows about Al Capone. He was an American gangster. You know, that's basically, yeah, he was a gangster. He hung out in New York, he hung out in Chicago, you know, all that, because he hung out in New York because he was a gangster. But, so, anyway, the most interesting thing, I think, about Al Capone was that, everybody knows he was in Alcatraz for a while. He didn't get convicted for any of the psycho gangster stuff that he did. He actually got convicted for tax evasion. Yeah. Oh, and my favorite thing, possibly, he actually ran a soup kitchen. So, I don't even know what was up with that. I mean, he was a total jerk, but, I guess you do what you want, right? And I suppose Al Capone wanted to do that. Number 5, Karl Marx. Karl Marx is known as the founder of communism, and yeah, he basically was the founder of modern communism. And he wrote the Communist Manifesto, and yeah, he was just the founder of communism. So Karl Marx, well, yeah, he was just the founder of communism, but he wrote down this awesome plan, and you look at it and you go, wow, that seems like it would work really well. That's an interesting plan. Communism doesn't work in real life, guys. At least not how Marx did it. People are people, and while he came up with a totally weird and interesting plan, something that hadn't been done before, that was really neat, it didn't work so well in real life. And I'm not even going to go into that because you all know how that story ends. Number 6, Galileo. Galileo was amazing. So Galileo was a physicist, mathematician, astronomer, philosopher, all that stuff. So he improved the telescope, and he made a bunch of astronomical observations, and he supported Copernicus, and I love Copernicus. So he's known the father of modern astronomy, the father of modern physics, father of science, father of modern science. I mean, jeez, that's pretty cool. So it's my personal opinion that Galileo in high school was probably he's like the popular kid, like the one that everybody wants to be. He was probably kind of a jerk about it. I mean, he seems like, in Mean Girls, the girl, what's her name? Regina something? Her? I bet he was like her. I bet that was Galileo in high school. I bet he even wore pink mini skirts, just like she did. And everybody wanted to be Galileo, because he's the father of modern science, you guys. Number 7, Nellie Bly. Nellie Bly is the only girl on my list for a reason. Not that I have anything against women in history. Really, I don't. Women weren't as well recorded back then, so there aren't as many to pick from. Okay? It's not any sexist thing, because I am a girl, so there's no reason for me to be sexist towards women. So, I don't know what. But, whatever. Nellie Bly was awesome. So she was born Elizabeth Jane Cotran in Pennsylvania, and basically she was a reporter. She was a journalist, and she's most famous for this expose she did, where she basically faked insanity to study a mental institution. I mean, that's awesome. So she went into the women's lunatic asylum on Blackwell's Island. So she acted crazy, and they sent her there. And so it was horrible, and Nellie Bly got out. Nellie Bly published it, and so everybody knew what a crappy place this was. She's just basically awesome. Number 8, and my last historical figure that I'm going to talk about right now, is William Shakespeare. If only because we don't even know if he wrote his plays. He definitely didn't come up with the ideas for any of them except Midsummer Night's Dream. And back in his day, he was like lowbrow entertainment. He wasn't this fancy schmancy stuff, which I think is funny. So I like to go up to people who are like, he's God, and remind them of that, because that's always fun, And, well, yeah, that's basically it. I just think he's fun to talk about, because he was not the best, but he's awesome. So he deserves a place on this list, definitely. Not that my list has any meaning or anything. We know stuff about his life, but we don't know a lot about him. So there's a lot of speculation about stuff like his physical appearance, his sexuality, religious beliefs. We know he was baptized. We think he was bi. We don't really know anything about his physical appearance. So we don't know a lot about him, like him personally. But, So that's basically it. That's my list of historical people that I think were totally cool. So yeah, until next time, this is Gloopglop saying, pay attention in history class. There's some interesting stuff in there.